We don't have to have it all together to be called by God, and that is beautiful. You're listening to The Well Within, a podcast for sensitive souls who are choosing faith, courage, and authenticity every single day, even when it's messy. I'm your host, Sosa, and together we're having real conversations about trusting God with our whole selves, our hearts, our hopes, and our dreams. So let's go deeper right now. Hey family, how are you? I'm so glad to be back today. I just wanted to touch base with you. This might be a very short episode, but I was creating my to-do list and I was like, wait a minute, when was the last time I prayed about my to-do list? As I was thinking about that I realized that I don't run my to-do list, God does. And so it's very important that I check in with him and pull him into my plans. And recently I've been slacking on my prayer life. I'm not going to lie to you. It's been very hard because some days I wake up and I jump right at the computer and then I'm like, wait a minute, it is 11 a.m. and I have not even prayed. I have not even read my Bible. And I started finding myself leaning into this habit and I had to nip it in the bud. And it's been a little challenging because obviously habits grow over time, but I'm taking very small steps to get back to where I was at the beginning of this month. And I realized that I can't approach it the same way I used to approach it, where I would maybe put my prayer on my calendar and then just forget about praying throughout the day and stuff like that. And so I want to share something with you that might also help you if you're in this season where you're kind of scattered. I thought that if I blocked the time, I prayed the right way, I checked it off my list, I was good. And I was so proud of my cute little spiritual schedule, but life keeps reminding me that God does not need my calendar to move. In fact, Proverbs 16 verse 9 says, "We make our plans, but the Lord is the one that orders our steps." I can't even tell y'all that verse has dragged me more times than I can count. I've launched programs. I've mapped out client pipelines. I've tried to plan every single dollar of my income. And then maybe a client that I was depending on suddenly goes silent. Maybe a partnership I thought was solid suddenly falls through. And in that same season, an unexpected opportunity would show up out of nowhere. And so I realized that the very thing that I thought was a failure ended up being an open door. And so it's funny how I panic, and it's funny how we panic when we fall off track, because we think delay means we did something wrong. We measure God's faithfulness by how fast our plans click. But meanwhile, he's on a whole other timeline. And so we're over here sweating about missed deadlines, and he's over here orchestrating something that requires us to slow down and not treat him like a checkbox. And so I realized that faith isn't complicated. We are the ones who complicate it, right? We try to fit God into our journals. We try to turn surrender into some sort of like productivity hack. But the heart of faith is trust. It's believing that nothing you do is too small for God to use. And so that email you keep putting off, that random conversation with a stranger, that blog post you think nobody will read, your daily work matters more than the world will ever admit. And let me say this, right? The world is loud about what counts as success. Maybe it's followers, maybe it's the amount of followers you have, maybe it's the amount of sales you close, maybe it's your visibility. And I talk about visibility so much, but I think the kingdom measures impact differently. And God notices the obedience that nobody claps for. He honors the tiny acts of thanks, of faithfulness that look ordinary to us. And so you may think that you're just running your business, sending invoices, writing proposals, but heaven sees the vessel. Heaven sees your work as ministry. And so that shift changed everything for me. And I stopped separating my spiritual life from my business life. I started seeing client work as an altar. every brand deck, every strategy call, every brainstorm, to me, it began to seem like it's worship. And so if you're reading this and you're feeling behind and you're feeling like maybe your spiritual life is suffering a little bit, I want you to breathe. I want you to breathe because God is in everything and you can't schedule God. And if you're wondering when your breakthrough will come, just pause for a bit. And if you're tempted to compare your spiritual path with somebody else's path, just pause for a bit, okay? I want you to make your plans, write them down, map the steps, but hold them really, really loosely. Because God has already blocked out his timeline. He has already written the script, and he is not late and he is not early. And sometimes the most powerful, faithful move is admitting that you are not in charge and still choosing to show up in excellence. And that is what I believe is the sweet spot. And that is what I believe is where peace lives. So again, if you're struggling in this season, just realize and just remember that there's someone out here who is doing the same thing, who is trying to get back on track, who is trying to pick up their prayer life once more, but also realizing that God isn't looking for my perfection. He's looking to make sure that I am operating in purpose.